I'm extremely scared and concerned for my mom. I am currently under the covers in my bed frantically typing this on my phone because I'm too scared to get up and check up on my mother. For the past 2 weeks, my mother was away on a business trip. Since I'm 18 and working, she allowed me to stay at the house alone to do some housekeeping. My mother and I live in a pretty big house in middle of nowhere, Texas, so 2 weeks alone in the house gets lonely. We are new to the area as we just moved in a couple of months ago, so for the past 14 days, I've been cooped up in our giant home alone and have been waiting for my mother to come home. So yesterday night when I heard the familiar jingle of her keys and front door open, I was excited to see my mother. I got up from my bed and ran down to the kitchen to ask her about the trip. That's when I noticed my mother just standing at the kitchen counter, not acknowledging me at all. She didn't say hi to me, or tell me that she missed me. She didn't even look up at me. My mother grew up through the Vietnam War. She has lived through seeing people killed in front of her. She spent her teenage years hopping from refugee camp to refugee camp. Basically, my mother has seen the worst of the worst in humanity. Despite her difficult upbringing, my mother has always been extremely loving and talkative, and our relationship is extremely close. So I was confused about what could have shaken her up so bad that she wouldn't acknowledge me. She simply returned home, placed her bags on the kitchen floor, and headed straight to her bedroom. I didn't want to pry my mother about what happened on the trip, so I headed back to my room without a word to give her time to herself. I was going to ask her about it the next day. This morning I woke up to a FaceTime from my mom. This was strange since my mother is the type of person to come upstairs to wish me a good morning. I answered regardless, and that's when my heart dropped. My mother was still at the airport. She said something along the lines of, "Sorry baby, I'm running a bit late since my flight is delayed. I will be home by dinner." If my mom was still at the airport, then who the hell came home last night? I just stared at my mom over FaceTime for a while until I finally answered back, "Mama, if you are still at the airport, then who came home last night?" My mom's face dropped and she told me to hang up the call and hide under the covers. She sounded genuinely frightened, and I have never seen my mother like that for the past 18 years she has raised me. That obviously scared the shit out of me, so I did as she said and hung up immediately. After I hung up, my mother texted me, "If whoever is in the house asks you to leave your room, do not listen to them. Stay in your room. I'm calling your uncle." That's when I heard my fake mother from the bottom of the stairs say, "Con, I have breakfast ready. Come down baby." I literally don't know what to do and I'm scared shitless. I'm currently waiting for my uncle to arrive. My uncle can be around 30 minutes or so later. He didn't find any trace of anybody else except for me in the house, but since my mother's side of the family is superstitious, he definitely believes that there was something in the house that was definitely not human. I am with my mother staying at my uncle's place for a while. My family called the temple we frequent, and some of the monks are going to the house to get it checked out. I called my manager and said that I won't be able to come in for work today, and since my manager is a family friend, she completely understood and got one of my coworkers to fill my shift today. My mother is fine. Although a little shaken by the whole ordeal, she is managing. I've been thinking about the whole situation a lot, and it reminded me of this story she used to tell me when I was little, when we still lived in the city with my dad. She would tell me this story frequently, and I always thought it was just a don't answer the door for strangers type of story you tell little kids to teach them about stranger danger, but it might be true thinking about it now. She used to tell me about when she was first in America. She shared this small apartment in California with her mother and her siblings. My grandma used to work 2 jobs to manage the bills, so she was at the laundromat during the day and was a receptionist desk lady at a hotel at night. One day my ba and Wai apparently came home early from working at the hotel. She was at the door asking my mom to let her in, but before my mom could get the door unlocked and opened, she looked through the peephole and realized that the figure at the door pretending to be her mother wasn't her mother. It apparently had what my mom described as a blurred out face. My mom said she immediately backed away from the door to tell her brother, my uncle, the situation, and they hid under the covers for the rest of the night until my actual grandma came home. I'm alive, I'm with my mother, and things are getting sorted out.